Many of us around the world are feeling scared, worried, and overwhelmed about the coronavirus COVID-19 outbreak, and fair enough, that's a normal human reaction. Some people have had first-hand experience of COVID and some others that lost their loved ones as a result. It has affected many families directly or indirectly. You and I are also highly affected by the pandemic right now as I'm speaking. I'm not talking about financially and the fact that we've remained behind closed doors 24 hours, but rather the internal impacts. To make it simple, I'd like to call all the actions and impacts outside our body to be external impacts, and this would include financial, loss of job, effects it has on businesses, the market, trades, and etc. On the other hand, I'd like to call the indirect impacts that it has inside our body to the wider population as internal impacts. In this video, we're going to address how coronavirus internally impacts each one of us today, even though we may not be experiencing the illness from the actual disease. And that's through our mental health, coronavirus-induced anxiety and depression. Majority of the population may not be aware of how it's affecting them, or they may not label it as such. I don't think there's a single person that has not felt some level of stress or anxiety at some point. But if you are actually to take a minute and reflect on your mood and behavior of the last few weeks, you may be able to capture the negative mental impact it has had on you. So, how does it affect our mental and emotional well-being? And that's through anxiety and depression, accompanied with sleep disturbance, loneliness, and grief and loss. First, I'd like to talk about anxiety. How does COVID relate to anxiety? Let me first start by explaining what anxiety is. A generalized way of explaining the term anxiety is excessive worry and fear. As a result, some people experience physical symptoms such as increased heartbeats, faster breathing, shaking, and muscle twitching are a few of them. Due to the coronavirus outbreak, quarantine, and isolation, majority of the population has experienced anxiety in some way, or continue to experience a more severe anxiety. And this happens in context of nervousness about the spread of the virus and increasing death rates, excessive worry and fear of contamination, or financial worry, panic attacks and feeling of helplessness, not knowing what the future will look like. One of the major contributors to the cause of anxiety we experience is the news, rumors, and speculations we expose ourselves to all day long while isolating. Information is good, but if we're spending numerous hours per day watching the news, talking about it over and over again, this exacerbates our level of worry and fear to a point things might get out of control, causing you anxiety and panic attacks. So, why do we need to watch out? Mild anxiety is good. It's our body's natural way of coping, and it's there to keep us safe from danger. And given the current circumstances, it's a normal human response to be slightly anxious, but it becomes problematic when it's ongoing and happens frequently and daily. That's why we need to monitor our thoughts and what we're exposing ourselves to, and be able to use appropriate coping strategies to prevent the reoccurrence of anxiety due to COVID. Next, I'd like to talk about depression. To describe depression in simple terms, it's sadness, frustration, disappointment, and low mood. Depression differs from an everyday down or low mood feeling that one might get. Depression is more intense, lasts 2 or more weeks, and impacts your ability to complete your day-to-day activities. So how does COVID result in depression for the wider population? It's the severe stressful events that we all have been exposed to, including situations such as unemployment, financial worries, serious difficulties with spouses, parents, or children during isolation, physical illnesses, and major changes in life circumstances such as isolating and social distancing. In addition to that, we have overstressing the negative, low mood and sadness due to isolation and loneliness, sleep disturbances, as well as grief and loss. And this includes anticipatory grief, fearing we'll lose people we know and love, as well as those dealing with the loss of loved ones. So, if one is experiencing low mood that has persisted for more than 2 weeks, then would say they have depression. Majority of the population might be exposed to mild depression, meaning individuals may not feel bad all day, but still describe a dismal outlook and a sense of gloom. Their mood may lift with a positive experience, but fall again with even a minor disappointment. In severe depression, a mood will persist throughout the day, failing to lift even when pleasant things occur. Another main impact COVID has in addition to anxiety and depression is loneliness, mainly for those that live alone, and it would be especially hard for those that moved out of home or had a relationship breakdown just before isolation began. Lack of connection and intimacy leads to sleep disturbance. This group of people are also at a higher risk of experiencing depression and anxiety. However, on the other hand, being shut down with friends and loved ones under an incredibly stressful circumstances is causing an eruption of tension, damage to closest relationships, leading to an increase in domestic violence and divorce rates in families. And lastly, those people with pre-existing anxiety and depression are at a much higher risk in comparison to the rest of the population. Worsening anxiety or depression may lead to suicidal thoughts and self-harm for some people. If this sounds like you or you know someone that may be at risk, please contact your nearest GP or mental health clinic. Overall, uncertainty about the future, not knowing when things will go back to normal, exacerbates anxiety, depression, and low mood. Studies launched to track the mental health effects of coronavirus crisis has already shown a rise in anxiety and depression in many countries around the world. Healthcare experts indicate while a negative psychological effect is unsurprising during a period of quarantine, what's more troubling is that psychological effects of quarantine can still be detected months or years later. Some people will continue to engage in avoidance behavior even after quarantine ends. So, we like both national and international programs to address this, but there is something each individual can do. The sooner you start addressing your emotional and psychological needs, the sooner true recovery will come, and it all starts with doing the little things. First of all, I want you to know that it's okay to feel overwhelmed and experience some level of stress, but make sure that you're practicing helpful techniques to manage your thoughts and mind so that over time, the stress and worry doesn't result you and your family to experiencing anxiety and depression. But 10. Consciously be aware and limit the amount of time you spend talking and discussing the virus, as this has a direct impact on how you feel and your mood for the day. Number 9. Monitor your social media use, as majority of it is all about coronavirus, so tune in with yourself and make adjustments as required. Number 8. Try to keep in touch with your family and friends. Talk to someone you trust, whether it's via Zoom, Skype, or phone. Number 7. If you have a family, plan for good health as a family to minimize the negative impact it may have on your children. Discuss with them the facts, but avoid the overexposure to information about the virus. Number 6. Sleep hygiene. Restoring a regular sleep routine can play an important role in managing your stress levels. Number 5. Keep active. If you can, go for a walk or run for an hour or so and get fresh air. If not, exercise from home. There's plenty of online fitness classes and resources on Google. Number 4. Ditch the snacks and stop emotionally binge eating. Eat balanced diet, as it will help you feel good about yourself and have a positive mood. Number 3. Practice mindfulness activities such as meditating and deep breathing exercise, as it will help you elevate your mood. There are plenty of resources on YouTube and online for this. Number 2. Quality over quantity. Having access to a good quality information about the virus can help you feel more in control. You don't need to feed your mind with unnecessary amount of information. Remember, the news agencies will always make matters sound more intense, as it's a business and more viewers equals to more revenue for them. And number 1, gratitude list. That's my personal favorite. It's easy to focus on the negative during a time like this. If you can, put together a list of things that you're grateful for, which you read at the start of your day. People who regularly practice gratitude by taking time to notice and reflect upon the things they're thankful for experience a more positive emotion, feel more alive, sleep better, and express more compassion and kindness. Thank you for listening. This was brought to you by Kadist. I'm a health professional social worker currently working in mental health. I wanted to share some of my knowledge with the wider population during this difficult time. Hope you found this to be useful. As this is a brief general tips and suggestions, don't forget to seek medical advice if you find yourself experiencing severe symptoms.